Hi, this is Deeksha and today we'll be talking about age estimation using an X-ray. We know this is a forensic medicine practical topic in MBBS. So we'll see this video will give you a brief idea of how we go about doing it. Okay, firstly we'll start with dentition. Dentition, we know we all have a set of temporary teeth and a set of permanent teeth. Temporary 2102, permanent 2123. Okay, so we'll see about when each of these tooth appears. So what you see here is the two incisors, the canine, the two molars. This is the upper set of jaw, this is the lower set of jaw. The numbers you see here is the range of appearance. So this is when it can start appearing and it can appear till this age. So we give a time frame of this tooth appears from 20 months to 30 months. Okay, so this is the range. You can see here these numbers have to be learned. So we'll see these are the two central incisors, the lateral incisors, the canine, first molar, the second molar. Okay, so this the order goes like this comes at 6 months. We learn the lower range and you can add 1 month or 2 months to it, except for this one, so that it's an easier way to remember. Okay, so we'll add so with the order of appearance, 6 months, 7 months, these are temporary, so it will be in months. 6 months, 7 months, 7 months, 10 months. Then it goes to the first molar, 12 months, 12 months. Both of these appear at 12 months. Then both of these appear at 17 months. Then the last molar comes at 20 months. So this is the beginning of this range and it can appear anytime between this range. This is the lower limit, this is the upper limit of the range. You can add 1 or 2 months to 1 or 2 months to it to remember. Remember the lower end of the range, you can add 1 or 2 months to it for the upper limit of the range. Now coming to the permanent tooth, we know there are two in central incisor, lateral incisor, canine, first premolar, second premolar, and first molar, second molar, third molar. These are the set 2, 1, 2, 3 is the criteria. So where we'll see when each of these start. I'll be talking about the lower limit. Whatever you see in purple is the lower limit, whatever you see in red is the upper limit. So the order it goes is like this appears at 6 months. First molar appears at 6 years. It appears at 6 years. Then we go to the incisors at 7 years, then 8 years, then go to the premolar at 9 years, then 10 years, then go to canine at 11 years, then go to molar, the second molar, at 12 years, and only the third third molar is at 17 years. All of these you can remember 1 year extra to the upper limit of the range, except for this one. Except for the last set of premolar, you need to remember it's from 17 to 25 years of age is the time where it can erupt. Okay, so this is about dentition. Now we'll go to the actual X-ray part. We'll be seeing about bones. The first basic concept you need to remember before going to the X-ray is one fact. It's a fact. Okay, we know all long bones have nutrient artery which enters. So the saying goes like this: towards the elbow I go and away from the knee I flee, meaning the nutrient, it means the new direction of the nutrient artery. Okay, so towards the elbow I go means the nutrient artery is in the direction of the elbow. So from the from the arm it goes towards the elbow, from the forearm it goes towards the elbow. Okay, and from the away from the knee towards the elbow I go is what we saw now. Away from the knee I flee, meaning the nutrient artery goes in the direction away from the knee. So it goes from the knee towards the hip, it goes from the knee towards the ankle joint. Okay, this is the direction of nutrient artery. Why do we know this? Why do we want to know this? We need to know the growing end. Growing end is said to be opposite to the direction of it. So if this is the direction of the nutrient artery here, that means this will be the growing end for this bone. So we see here for the humerus, this upper end is the growing end, and for the radius ulna, the lower end is the growing end. And if this is the direction of the nutrient artery here, that means this is the direction of the growing end. and if the direction of nutrient artery is like this, then this means this is a growing end. So why do we need to know this? We do X-ray, we learn about the ranges, that this end, at the elbow joint these bones fuse at this point of time, at the shoulder joint these bones fuse at this point of time. Okay, humerus has a contribution to elbow joint and it has a contribution to shoulder joint. So we need to know to remember when fuse is what is like a trick to remember. Okay, the growing end will that's the growing end. It takes longer, it grows more than the other opposite end. So the growing end will fuse a little later than the other end of the same bone. So if we are talking about humerus, this is a rough sketch of the if we are talking about the humerus. Okay, this is a very rough sketch of the humerus. We saw that this end is the growing end. This end is the growing end contributing to the shoulder joint. This end is the elbow joint contribution. That means this is the growing end. That means this fuses 1 year later. This fuses 1 year later than this. Okay. So this end fuses at 16 to 17 years. This end will fuse at 18 to 19 years. So this is the later one. Okay, growing end fuses little later than the other bones. So this aspect can be applied to all the joints that we are looking at, with long bones. Now we'll go to shoulder joint. So we see here the parts of shoulder joint, the parts which form the bones forming the shoulder joint, the humerus, the head of humerus, the greater tuberosity, the lesser tuberosity, and this is the acromion process. So whatever you see in pink is the age of appearance, and whatever you see in blue is the age of fusion. Okay, so we have a order here. Head of humerus appears at 1 year, this appears at 3 years, lesser tubercle appears at 5 years, and these form a conjoined tubercle, meaning all these appear at these separate years and these together fuse to each other at 5 years. Okay, and the acromion appears at 14 to 15 years, and then acromion fuses with there will be a separate part of the acromion that will fuse to itself with 17 to 18 years. And then this is the humerus. All these conjoined tendon which is formed at 5 years will fuse with the shaft of the humerus at 18 to 19 years. What we saw, this end of the humerus is the growing end. So that's the end which will grow a little longer. So we see it ends at 18 to 19 years. Then we'll go to elbow joint. So parts of the elbow joint, the humerus, the radius, the ulna, and the parts of the bones which are forming. This is the lateral, this is the medial aspect. So capitulum, trochlea, then medial epicondyle, also called inner epicondyle, lateral epicondyle, also called external epicondyle. Then this is the olecranon process which forms the ulna, which is in the ulna. Age of appearance has a mnemonic here, which is crito. What is crito? This means crito is capitulum, radius, inner epicondyle, trochlea, olecranon, external epicondyle. This is the order of appearance. Okay, so we'll see capitulum comes at 1 year, then lateral capitulum comes at 1 year, then radius comes at 5 years. Okay, 1 year, radius at 5 years. Then I for internal epicondyle or inner epicondyle, that comes at 6 years. Then trochlea comes at 9 years, and along with it olecranon 9 years. Then external epicondyle comes at 11 years. So this is the order. Crito, which is 1 year capitulum, 1 year, 5 years, 6 year, 9 year, and then 11 years. Okay, this is the order of appearance. When does all of this fuse? So this capitulum, lateral epicondyle, and trochlea fuse together at 14 to 16 years, and all of this fuse with the shaft, that is of the humerus, to the humerus at 16 to 17 years. Okay, and then medial epicondyle appears at 6 years, it fuses by 14 to 16 years. We saw that this end of the bone, the lower part of the elbow of the humerus, the lower end will be the non-growing end, so that fuses earlier than the growing end, so that will be 16 to 17 years. Okay, and then radius and ulna, both of these fuse at 16 to 17 years. So you can remember roughly all the bones in the forming the elbow joint fuse by 16 to 17 years of age. which is the on this form. This is a non-growing end for all of these three bones. Then we come to wrist joint. Wrist joint, we'll see the bones. We have the carpal bones, which is this is the lateral end, this is the medial end. Okay, scaphoid, lunate, triquetral, pisiform, trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, hamate. And then the other important bones you need to remember: base of first metacarpal, radius, ulna. Okay, so we'll see. The carpal bones start forming first. So here we see the pink, all the pink color is the age of appearance. Capitulum comes at 2 months, hamate comes at 3 months, and then triquetral comes at 3 years. Okay, so by the end of 3 years, 3 bones have been formed, and then lunate comes at 4 years. So end of 4 years, 4 bones have been formed. So it's the easier way to remember. If you see 4 bones on an X-ray, that means the person is more than 4 years. Okay, so scaphoid comes at 5 years, and then along with scaphoid there's a trapezium and trapezoid, which also comes at 5 years. Then the last bone to appear is pisiform, which comes at 10 to 12 years. You can remember this. So if you see a pisiform bone which has appeared, that means the person is more than 10 years. Okay, so and all of these bones don't have any fusion, they just appear and they're separated bones. And then we'll see the base of first metacarpal, which appears from 2 to 3 years. The same time the radius comes to 2 years. So remember 2 and 2. And then ulna comes from 5 to 6 years. When does all of this fuse? So first is fusion of first metacarpal, base of first metacarpal 15 to 17 years, radius at 18 to 19 years, ulna at 17 to 18 years. Okay, we saw that for radius and ulna, the distal end is a growing end. So this fuses later. So we see it's 18 to 19 years here and 17 to 18 years later. It's like more than the non-growing end which formed the elbow joint. Okay, so this is the wrist. Now coming to hip joint. Hip joint, we'll see the parts. This is the sacrum, this is the hip bone, the ilium, the pubis, the ischium, and this is the ischial tuberosity, this is the ischiopubic ramus. Okay, and then this is the femur, forming head of femur, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter of femur. What all do we see here? We'll start with the femur first. We'll say appearance of head of femur is 1 year, greater tubercle at 4 years, lesser tubercle comes at 12 years. Okay, and we know that this end is the non-growing end of the femur. Okay, we saw from here that this end, the upper end of the femur is the non-growing end. So that has to fuse by 17 to 18 years of age. And then we see ischial tuberosity, which appears at 16 years and then fuses by 19 to 21 years. And then ischiopubic ramus, which fuses at 6 years. And then triradiate cartilage is like the 3 separate ilium, ischium, and pubis all fuse to each other. That fusion comes at 13 to 15 years. And iliac crest. This is the one important feature that we need to remember. We can identify this easily on X-ray. Okay, so 14 years it appears, then fuses at 18 to 20 years. Okay, so main things that we can identify in a hip X-ray is like whether these are fused, whether this is fused. It's like easy to identify. Okay, remember this. And this is a non-growing end. Femur upper end is non-growing, so this is 17 to 18 years. Then we have a knee joint. Knee joint, we know it is formed by femur, fibula, and tibia. Okay, so one aspect of it, femur is the only thing which comes intrauterine, which fuses which appears intrauterine. Okay, 9 months intrauterine. This has medical legal significance. The lower end of femur, 9 months intrauterine. Life it appears, and then tibia appears at birth, fibula appears at 4 years, and all of these it fuses at 18 to 19 years. For the knee joint, we know the for femur it is the lower end, tibia, fibula is the upper end, which are the growing end. So this fuses later than the opposite end. So 18 to 19 years it's when it fuses. Then ankle joint, it's easy to remember. Tibia at 1 year, fibula appears at 1 year, carpal calcaneal tuberosity appears at 6 to 8 years, and then fusion of calcaneal tuberosity 15 to 16 years, and then all of these at 16 to 17 years. Okay, this is when it fuses. Ankle joint not so important. Then we saw all of when all of this fuses, the growing end, the non-growing end, when the range is when all of this fuses. How do we identify all of these on an X-ray? We know X-ray sheet, it appears all black, and then the bones appear all whitish. Okay, so we can see two types to identify if it's fused or not fused. See, if it's all fused, you don't see any space here. If it's not fused, you see a black line, or like a very dark opaque white line. The X-ray, it won't be this opaque. Okay, X-ray won't be this opaque white. You can see here, like slightly opaque, and here we see this is upper end of radius. Okay, upper end of humerus, sorry. We see this is the head of humerus, the greater tubercle, lesser tubercle, all have appeared, and this one is the line of fusion. We see this has not fused. You can see a white opaque line which has not fused with the shaft, so this means it's not fused. And then you can see this one. This one is the hip joint. We see that this here is the iliac crest. We see a faint black line here, implies that it is not fused. Okay, so this is how we identify if it's fused or not fused. Okay, and then a general rule to remember, we have, if the growing end, the fusion appears at 18 to 19 years, you can apply it to all the growing ends of each joint. And if it's, and we talk about ranges, and we need to identify all of these and give a range that this person is so and so years old. So we talk about this range is where it fuses 15 to 17 years. Say if a joint if a bone fuse at the one end of the bone fuses at 15 to 17 years is what we say. That means if it is fused, it's a range. If it is fused, that means a person is more than 15 years, more than the lower limit. Okay, and if it is not fused, that means a person is less than 17 years, meaning you're giving that time frame of 2 years for the bone to be fused. Okay, so this is a general rule you need to apply. So if it is fused, you will say that the person is more than so and so this age. If it is not fused, you will say that the person is less than this age. Okay, this is a general rule. And then we'll see one example X-ray. So this is the wrist joint we see here. All of these, it's easier, note down as you go through an X-ray. Have a list, write this bone appears is when it appears, this is when it fuses, and if it is fused or not. So if it is fused, we'll take the lower limit, and if the person is greater than the lower limit. If it's not fused, we'll take the upper limit, meaning the person is less than the upper limit is what we'll take. So if you write down all of it for each of it, it'll be easier to interpret. Okay, so wrist joint, we'll see epiciform has appeared, so it's more than, person is more than 10 years. Then our radius, we see radius has not fused, we see a line here, so it is less than 19 years. Then base of first metacarpal has fused more than 15 years, and then ulna has fused here more than 17 years. So we see, we observe all of this, and we'll take a range for to give the final age of the person. Okay, this is the elbow joint. We see everything has fused. We know that everything in the elbow joint fuses by 16 to 17 years of, so it's fused, so it'll be more than 16 years of age. Then we see this is the hip joint, the upper end of femur. Everything here fuses by 16 to 17 years of age. The person is more than 16 years of age. Then this is the iliac crest. We see iliac crest fuses at 18 to 20 years. If it is, then we see a line which is dark line, which is not indicating that it's not fused. That means the person is less than 20 years of age. Okay, and this is the shoulder joint. We see the acromion process has appeared, but it's not fused. So we give the time till 18 years. To person is less than 18 years. Then we see a faint line here on the upper end of humerus, which is not fused to the shaft. That means it is less than 19 years of it. So with all of this, we'll take one value which is closely lying. Okay, and then ultimately tell that the person is 17 to 18 years of age. So the range will often lie within 1 or 2 years of gap. if it's done correctly. So this is all we did. We saw dentition, temporary permanent teeth, the nutrient artery, and growing, and the concept of this. So remember this will apply everywhere. And growing end is always you can consider it if it fuses by 18 to 19 years of age. And then we saw the ranges in a pictorial form, and we saw one mnemonic for elbow joint when each of these appeared, and we saw one mnemonic, one smart mnemonic here, that when 3 bones have appeared in the wrist, 3 carpal bones have appeared, that means the person is 3 years. If 4 have appeared, the person is 4 years, and all of this. And hip joint, knee joint, ankle joint not so important. And we saw how to identify fused and not fused in an x-ray, and how to interpret the range, how do we take the range if the person is greater or lesser of so and so age. And that's all for this video. Thank you.